Some of you might know that I have a son, and many times when I sit with my son, perhaps like to do homework or to do something that's difficult, he comes up with this phrase, I can't. Now, many times I'm trying to instill that belief in him that yes, you can do this. But the problem is, it's fruitless. If I go directly against that belief that I can, I'm going to be met with resistance and opposition. It's the same kind of resistance that he's having with himself. He wants to do this thing, or he's trying to do these things, but at the same time, he believes that he can't make it happen. So what happens is he gets stuck in this belief of I can't, and it makes it very difficult for him to work through whatever is there. Now, he's not the only one. I meet with the same opposition. We all have this I can't in some area of our lives, and it shows up, and it's a belief that when it shows up, it makes it very difficult for us to tackle this thing that we're trying to do and we say that we can because we believe in that. We have this sense that this I can't is true, and since I can, there's nothing that I can do right now to move forward. If I try to convince him that he can do it, usually it just amplifies this resistance. It's just a wall that I keep pushing towards that nothing happens. My strategy in general tends to be that we have to deviate a little bit from the path. We have to deviate a little bit from the task at hand. And in that sense, to try and kind of go sideways, let's work on this. Let's see what other things that we can do. Let's focus on those things that they are workable and see what needs to be done with a little bit of patience and perseverance. As we move along, we slowly begin to solve that problem. So we start to prove to ourselves that we can let go of this belief that I can't when we're focusing on the things that we can do. And we begin to disprove that belief that the thing that was right in front of us, that we thought we couldn't make happen, that belief that I can't, that was true, it stops being so true. So when we finish that thing and we reach the end, I try to tie it all back, tie it all together. And I ask him, what do you think happened? You were telling me that you couldn't do this all this time. And now it is done. Where is this I can't right now? We just made it work. So where is it? Notice how I was getting in your way. He's still young, but I'm trying to show him through just working through things that this I can't might be there. But actually, if we just focus on something else, if we focus on the things that we can work out, that belief that I can't begins to fade away. Welcome everybody to another episode from Inside Treasures. My name is Phoebus and I love to challenge myself and those around me for the purpose of growth. This podcast is about helping you to heal, to change, and to grow. This particular episode is all about uncovering beliefs and overcoming limiting beliefs. In the past few episodes, we've really taken belief out and we've looked at it in many different contexts and different perspectives so we can understand what belief is. And we talked about belief shaping the way that we view the world, belief that we have about ourselves and about other people around us. We talked about how these beliefs are powerful and how they often have a lot of emotion in them. The world isn't always so. It isn't the way that we believe that it is. Part of beliefs are based on facts, they're linked to facts, they're being fueled by facts, but they're not the full, truthful representation of what things are. See, our brain is constantly looking to match patterns. It's a pattern-making machine, matching machine. And then when that happens, the way that the brain works is it keeps filtering information depending on our version of the truth, and it omits a lot of the truth that is out there. I've talked a little bit about this into an episode called The Emotional Brain, and that will help you understand more about how the brain works and how we're matching those patterns in our brains and the emotional reactions that we get through it. When we change beliefs, we can often see that they're all of a sudden, as we're changing them, there were parts of reality that weren't part of our conscious awareness. But when we're working with them, all of a sudden we start to remember, we start to have memories that they were there, but our brain was filtering. And now these new memories are coming up to our conscious awareness. There's certain types of beliefs, like deep embedded beliefs, that we particularly have to do with our identity and how we feel about ourselves, that they can appear really hard to shift and kind of impossible at times. Again, this is a belief. So when we come from that place and knowing that, oh, this is like deep core belief identity stuff, it's very hard to change. Of course, that's going to fuel that change process. And the best kind of recommendation that I have around that is just To be willing to be open, yes, it might be more of the way that we identify with ourselves. But the more open we are, the more observant we are, the more that we can just see them and work with those beliefs the same way we would work with any other belief. And it's about creating new facts or relating differently into the facts that we have in our brain, processing the beliefs that we've built through the time because of the experiences that we had. Now, that's not to negate who you are, that's not to negate what's happened to you, but it's in order to empower you, in order for you to be able to move forward with more ease, with more agility, with more freedom, just so you can have the type of adventures that you want and need to be having for your growth. You might be wondering, well, why should I change or work on my beliefs? Like, this is who I am, this is what it is, this is what I believe, or it's just fixed. First of all, the lot of underlying lies that are playing out, and it can feel like beliefs are part of who we are, especially when we're talking about self identifying beliefs, how we view ourselves in the world. But at the same time, it's realizing that beliefs, they just play out. It's what we said, they play out, they define how we behave, think, and act, and that's why they often feel like they're ourselves. But at the same time, knowing that the beliefs are interchangeable, they depend on situations, they depend into a specific time and area in our lives, and then depend a lot in context as well. Changing beliefs and letting go of limiting beliefs is about clearing the lens. It's about creating a better experience for you in order for you to be more free, to move about, to be more aligned with your true nature. And that's the distinction. It's the same thing as I'm thinking. They're the thoughts that I'm having, and they're who I am. Beliefs are often like that as well. So identifying a belief and being aware of it is a great step forward. And that's why I want to take you through this process in this episode. The little caveat that I want to put there is make sure that this work doesn't become a trap that it keeps you trapped and it doesn't let you move. It gets you being more stuck because all of a sudden you know exactly why it is that you're where you're at because you have this belief. And this belief is broken. It makes you be broken. So we got to get rid of it and we got to let it go. Being aware of that is really important because it's very easy to attach ourselves into the beliefs that we're having and see them as a parasite and see them as part of ourselves and see them as the thing that we need to change about ourselves. Know that in your true nature, who you are is who you are, and beliefs are just narratives and stories. What we need to do is identify what those are and also learn ways to disrupt these old patterns. Act from a new paradigm. You got to create this shift in a way that you behave, you think, and feel, and that will, of course, shift your beliefs. Giving yourself the opposite belief, like I said earlier with I can and I can't, won't always solve things because it's very easy for us to deflect it. It's very easy for us to oppose it. So we got to do the work. We got to put in the work. A very clear example for this is the times, you might have noticed it in other people. You might have noticed it in yourself. If someone gives you a compliment, and then instead of you just embracing it and accept it, you deflect it, you push it away. You say, no, that's not me. This plays out in many situations, and we can see that in other people, and you might have seen it in yourself. Knowing that, yes, we could identify beliefs that they can be positive, but at the same time, don't expect them to work like magic if we just speak them out and never take action on them. This episode is about, the self-help guide of overcoming limiting beliefs. And I put together a little worksheet that you can download. You find the link in the show notes or you can find them on my website. Know that before you start this work, part of it will be doing it now, but also take some time having that worksheet and working through it to see what are the things that you can come up with that will work for you. Because we're not in the same room, because this conversation is pretty much one way, it's very hard for me to know where you're at and what you're resisting and where the emotions are coming. And just go along with my guidance, be playful, be open, and just be curious to see what plays out. Even if it feels a little bit out there, just go with it just so you can register it, so you can be aware of it, so you can become one with it in the sense of this is who I have been acting out. This is the space that I've been coming from. These are the beliefs that have been coming into my mind. The deeper the beliefs are, like I said, more core beliefs, more about identity beliefs, the more unsettling that work can be. It can throw our entire world out of perspective, out of balance, because all of a sudden we have to recalibrate the way that we've been behaving, the way that we've been thinking, the way that we have been responding. A really good example for core beliefs is I was working with this guy, and let's call him Peter, and we were working around being authentic and sharing our truth and being able to be more assertive and to say the things that are coming up for us. So it was all about that. Now, the way that Peter was coming across was that he was coming from the belief that if he was to, rock the boat, things will go terribly wrong and bad. And also that it was really bad for him to do so. So there were a few beliefs, the way that they were manifesting themselves, and there were a few other ones. But the minute we did the work, that had a huge impact in the way that he perceived himself. It just, all of a sudden, he was more free to talk about what he wanted to talk about, but at the same time, there was this buildup of emotion that he didn't know how to handle. And of course, we had to have a follow-up session to work through that. But noticing how these things can impact different areas of our lives, they impact how we are, they can bring up anger, resentment. In the long term, all my life I've been doing this, and now I can do this. And it's empowering, it's intoxicating, but it's also managing to find the right balance through this new belief, through this new paradigm of finding our center and finding our true selves and not going all the way to the other extreme. Many times when we work with beliefs, it's an upstream change. It affects our behavior, and sometimes you go through from our behavioral view, but know that you're also changing in a different level. Now, as you're going along through this exercise, you might think, well, when X happens, I don't know what am I believing. I don't know what I'm thinking about. I just know how it shows up. You can start from that. So if I'm feeling that, then what am I believing about myself? What does this mean? These are key questions to have. And also allowing yourself to sit in stillness, allowing yourself to, that's why you have to carve out the time when you do it by yourself, to be able to reflect inwards without any distractions from the outside. So you can stay with those emotions, or you can stay with those thoughts. Again, not to get lost, not to get, sidetracked and drunk from the process, but for allowing yourself to see what your intuition tells you that it is beneath these circumstances. And that will allow you to see the blockages that they are there. So give it time, and sometimes you have to have another go because it will show up. You kind of see it, it will make sense, or you push it away. So when we're working with ourselves, but even when you're working with other people, it takes time sometimes to do those shifts because it's like the rubber band effect. We kind of go back to where we were. Know that questions can create motion that will create answers for you, perhaps today, perhaps in a later time, and being okay with that you're not going to sit here and just, reframe and change every single belief that you have all of a sudden overnight. Actually, that can be one of the keys to failure. And being more open, being more concentrated on a few things will help you move forward and go further. Now, there's some essential elements when working with beliefs and creating new beliefs. One thing is knowing what belief you're trying to cultivate. That will help you because you have a direction. You will have some language that you can work with that can help guide your energy. Because with those beliefs as well, a lot of it has to do with our energy and where we're at from within. The next thing is building new facts. Putting yourself in situations, perhaps they can be challenging, responding differently in situations, so you allow your brain to follow and to create these new references. Part of it, like I said, it might just be remembering times. When was the time that actually my parents loved me, for example? I keep having this belief that my parents don't love me, but actually I can see this time and that time and that time. That breaks the narrative. So as I was saying, you kind of have to build that emotional response. You have to build emotion around this new belief, because if I just say it mentally and I'm never engaging with it, I'm never creating those experiences for me, I'm not building this deep resonance within me. And that won't allow the new belief to stick, because the old belief has a lot of resonance. It has a lot of emotional impact in us. And we have to create this, positive vibe within that it can help us cement that belief. And a great way to do this is create actions. Actions, you can live from, and they imply this new belief. So what are some actions that I could take if I believe this, or that I would be taking if I believe this? It's learning to change our focus and our attention. learning to retrain our brain to notice new things that didn't impress us before. Same thing with compliments. Now all of a sudden, I'm just registering the compliments. I'm still deflecting a little bit, but I'm registering them. I'm paying attention with them versus, tucking them under the rug, under the carpet and pretending they never happen. Now we allow ourselves to be in that space. And slowly, we'll learn to accept them and embrace them. A couple of more techniques that we can use is we can use affirmations. A lot of people use affirmations with great success. Other people say it doesn't work. Again, it's the mud and the frosting on the mud cake. But we can work with them. We can learn to build that emotional response, and we can learn to observe those objections that come up. Being able to pay attention, we'll get into that in a little bit. Whenever you put in a positive belief, a lot of the old negative, limiting beliefs, irrational beliefs will come up. Another way of doing it is creating empowering questions. So if I was confident right now, what would I say? What would I do? And then we have to be able to jump the gun, like really execute on that as quickly as we can so we can cement in. So if I was confident, I would speak to this person. Okay, so that means that I need to go and speak to this person. Then you go and speak to that person. Already that implies that you're confident. Now, if you don't go and speak to that person, would that mean that you're not confident? Partly it would be. Is it the whole truth, the entire truth, and nothing but the truth? No. But learning to play with that in order for us to fuel and learn to be better and learn to be more adaptable to what's going on and really fueling ourselves to move forward. Now, I'm going to give you a series of different phrases and exercises for you to work on. But before I do, I want to get into one situation. I want you to think of a situation which you find challenging, something that's been challenging you, and perhaps it's been going on for a while. Might be a few, just pick one. And it might be the same thing, really, but just dressed differently. Now think of that current situation and think to yourself, when I'm being challenged by this, what does that mean about me? If it has to do with other people, with a relationship, what does it mean about them? What meaning am I creating about them? Or when it comes to this specific situation, what meaning am I creating about this situation? What is it about, me going out on a date what does it mean when I go? What does it mean when I don't go? Just notice that. What is driving my behavior? I respond in a certain way. What is driving that behavior? Is there a belief that I can identify? So what do I believe about this? About me, about them, about the situation? What is it that I'm currently believing? Another way to put it is, what am I telling myself? Before I go and approach this person which I want to talk to, I feel intimidated. I feel intimidated because this is what I say to myself. Maybe they reject me, maybe they won't like me. And again, it might not be verbal. It might be a sensation that you have in your body, but usually will manifest as a thought as well. So you have the emotion and you have a thought. Understanding when that plays out, what is the impact in me? What impact is this thing having? So when I think that they will reject me, I stop myself from going and talking to this person. When I don't do that, I start feeling bad about myself. I start judging myself. This is the impact. It's the result of what gets created. Okay. How would I rather have this situation play out? What would I rather have? What would I rather experience in my life? In order for me to experience that in my life, what would I rather believe? What would I need to believe? If I believe in myself and I believe in that I'm just going to give value to this conversation, I feel more empowered, I feel more confident. Again, this new belief has a different impact. It has a different fingerprint. So which actions could I take that would support that belief? Just go and talk to them. Boom. So there's certain kinds of actions that you could take that could help you to build that supportive belief rather than just saying it in your head. And then it's about managing to get yourself into acting. into doing the thing, even if your whole entire being tells you not to. That is the hardest part. But knowing when you have that belief, you can start cultivating that belief. I believe in myself, and that I've been in other situations which I've reached and connected with other people, and I had a conversation with people I didn't know, and I had a lot of good time. And these were the times that happened. This is just an example. Use it in your situation. Now, there's another thing that we can do. You can set down a list of musts and shoulds and have-tos. It's all the rules, whether these are internal expectation and demands that we have or external and why we need to honor them. Just spending the time to say, I have to XYZ. I should. I must. Now, from that list, some of them will be fairly rational. Some of them will make sense. Some of them will be contextual, so they will depend on the situation. And like I said before, most beliefs will depend on situations. And taken to an extreme, they still end up being the same irrational beliefs, just in a dressed differently. So, is this belief irrational? Is this rule that I have about myself? Is this rule I have about my wife? Is this rule that I have about my office, my space, rational one or irrational one? You can play on where did it come from? And then, of course, you can play again with what would I rather think about this? How could I loosen up that rule so I can choose to, or I want to? So I want to keep my office tidy. I don't have to. I choose to put myself in difficult situations because it helps me to grow, but I don't have to. It's not a must. I would rather have my wife make me dinner when I come back from work. These are examples, yeah, so take them lightly, but it's instead of she must make me dinner, it's like I would like to. It'd be nice if you made me a drink versus expecting that drink, having that belief, expectation. You should be making me a drink. Where does that come from? How rational is it? Maybe I should get up and make you a drink. Notice the should again. I need to please you. Shoulds, rules. Notice the rules that play in your life. Write a few of them down. Notice how they reflect. Notice how they feel. And then choose some new ones. Lighten the language up around the shoulds, the must, and the have-tos. Perhaps you'll see where they come from. Perhaps it's irrelevant. And then we're training our brain to spot these things as they're happening on a day-to-day. So if you do this once and then you never look at it again, you won't do much. But then if you start to notice, what are the times that I'm having an expectation from my children? What are the times I'm having an expectation from my wife because I believe this? That's when the real work starts. And now just a few phrases. Just fill in the things that they come in your mind and write a few of them. Again, you find this on the exercises as well as the worksheet. Yeah, so let's start. So when it comes to X, you have to put in something. Again, think of this as a scenario. When it comes to the situation, when it comes into me putting myself out there, I believe that. When it comes to dating, I believe that. When it comes to me coming back from work, I believe that. And fill in the gap. Another one is, I'm good enough because. This for some of you might be hard because it's going to just set fire to all those limiting beliefs of why you're not good enough. But we can learn to build that, and that can be a daily exercise of writing, I'm good enough because. And then you write the reasons you think you're good enough. You're retraining your brain over and over and over again, despite the opposition, despite the resistance coming, but also remember then we have to go into the world and create that. It's the same analogy that I had with my son. We can keep telling ourselves it's helping, it's recreating the pinpoints, the points of references that we have in our brain. It's learning our brain to shift gears even though like the resistance comes up. But it doesn't mean it's just going to go away just like that because we said I'm good enough once. Another one, limiting belief. I'm not good enough because. Now you can have a field play. Just write all the reasons why you feel you're not good enough from the perspective that this is not a true depiction of who you are. It's not a true depiction of your self-worth. But it might be the way that it's been hidden and uncovered and the way that you have been operating from. So list it, see it, observe it, witness it. But know that most of your life you've been in that space and you felt that as being yourself. Now it's about taking yourself out of the situation, just documenting like a journalist. This is what's playing out. Another one is I am someone that, or I am someone who. Another one is I'm becoming. And then you fill in that gap. Because that creates possibility, that opens things up. And that, again, you can try daily. I'm becoming someone who's more confident. I'm becoming someone who enjoys dating. I'm becoming someone who enjoys speaking to strangers. It will start to open you up. It's still not fully there as we are in our perfectionistic mind, but it's a process. And as you move through the process, you let go of those old limiting beliefs. I love myself because. Again, you list the reasons why you love yourself. Opposition will come, fine. But you write it again and again. I love myself because X. I love myself because Y. I love myself. With all this, write a few. Don't just write one. Write a few and see what comes up. And notice that, observe that. Notice how the mind begins to get agitated. Notice the objecting beliefs, the narratives, the stories that they come in. These are the things that are playing out. These are the things, the wall, the resistance that we are meeting on a day-to-day. Now it's time for you to practice observation, not to get caught up in what you're discovering. You get all the reasons why you think you're not good enough. Fine, write them down, observe them, see them what they are. And then start this new motion of why you're good enough and what are some great things. And do it for a span of time, because if you do it once, it won't help you, but do it for a span of time. All these questions I said, and you find them on the worksheet so it's easier to work with. See what comes up, see the patterns. And then also make a choice. See how it impacts you. See how it limits you. That's why it's limiting beliefs, because it limits you from being yourself. It limits you for doing the things that you want to be doing. It limits you from being out there. It limits you what we call the full potential. It just, for me, it's just this character is the mask that we put in front. We stop being authentic. We stop being ourselves, and we stop acting from that place that it's not really who we are. And it's knowing that. Even when it feels so real, even when it feels so out there, even when that's the only way that we can perceive ourselves. And then to start to play with that and to also create a new reality. But a lot of it is playing with that. And sometimes it's simple as language, sometimes it's metaphorical, sometimes it's direct. And then bringing that into action, bringing that in a way that you can easily disprove it without having to fight, without having to go direct, but going sideways. It is my wish and hope that this was a useful exercise for you, that it was something that you took the time and you spent the time to really reflect and think on the things that they play in the background, the limiting beliefs that are playing out, and some of the empowering beliefs that you could really tap into. If you didn't take the time, book some time with yourself when you're by yourself, over a cup of coffee, some time for you to really work with our worksheet and uncover some of the things that they're playing out. In conclusion, what I want you to get out of this episode is that it's great to do this work. It's great to see within you what are the things that they're running, what are the beliefs that you've been believing and they have been leading you. But also what I want you to understand is that the point is not to really analyze them so much. It's just to learn how to spot them, to learn how to live into a different paradigm by shifting when that belief is playing out and that emotional reaction comes in and we feel that we go on autopilot, being able to spot that and be able to create a different choice, a new choice and a new way of being. So it's about creating a new truth. It's about creating the world, a world created. I've done another episode on that. It's being with choice and not like being on default and autopilot. During this process, without a doubt, one thing that we have to keep practicing is self-forgiveness, is compassion, is observation, is being not judgmental, is being nurturing towards ourselves, creating acceptance and allowance for having believed that and for having had this impact in our life and for having behaved that way, because there's also this other narrative that we can turn against this belief and why have I been doing this thing? And it's this person's fault and it's been my fault. But none of this is going to serve us where we're heading. It's about not holding back anymore and actually operating with a better alignment with yourself. That's why we have to see it and then we have to let it go. We have to drop it. And whenever we pick it up subconsciously, to be able to spot that and put it back down again. All this is going out in our lives day by day by day. And it's getting more out of life, more of what you want. And there's a great strength that comes when we choose and we operate from that space that we see the beliefs and we also start operating from a new belief system. My purpose from this episode was to give you the time and give you the chance to have someone guide you through this. I found that it's very powerful when we have other people working with us because it is often very easy for us to kind of shy away and avoid going deeper. Now, I could have spent even more time creating more space, but I feel like it didn't do the full justice to this episode because we kind of have a lot of ground to cover. And this is about you taking more of the time and working with yourself. A lot of this work I have done with myself in the past, and it's been really powerful process of sitting with ourselves and being confronted with the things that are running. But what I found even more powerful was working with other people. People who had grown through the process as well themselves. People who could help me see my blind spots because they weren't being me. People who were willing to challenge my beliefs and help me become more aware of the stories and the beliefs that I was having that were running the show. Now, is it all gone? Am I, cured and perfect? No, none of that. And it's not about that really. It's just about being more empowered in our choices. And having other people keep us on the path helps us to see the truth. Having other people reflect that truth back to us helps us see it in a different way that all of a sudden we're like, whoa. And know that not asking for help is also based on a belief. For me, it was creating the meaning that I can't accept help because this is where I am. And, the more that I was in this victim mentality, as much as I wanted to break free, I also craved that attention from other people. And I felt, if I were to get help and things would get better, then I'm actually repelling that attention, that love. And this plays for many people. It might not be your thing, but I found it that with me always resonate. And it's also moving away with this. I need to get fixed kind of mindset as well. That's other beliefs showing up. It's not that we're broken. We can see that we might feel that way. And if we were to fix it in that scenario, then where would you get that love? Where would you get that attention? Where would you get that affection, that sympathy from other people? I'm spelling it out here. And like I said, it's not the same for everyone, but this was definitely a part of my story. It might be different for you, but I encourage you to discover it for yourself, to discover how much you're willing to play with yourself, to be a little bit more free, to understand the distinction between who you are and how you show up, to understand the distinctions of the beliefs that they're playing out and how they're showing up in your life. With the way that I tend to work with other people and I work with myself, I find two tools that I often use, and that's hypnosis and coaching. And when it comes to belief, and beliefs in general, I found that both hypnosis and coaching are very powerful in shifting those beliefs, in creating a container for us to be able to express those beliefs with that safety, with that trust, with that net of we're okay, we're not on our own. It's being able to release that emotional tension that exists, that energy from within a limiting belief, or perhaps that blaming or that accountability. There's so many things that comes with beliefs. And it's just an amazing way of creating new beliefs and instilling them and helping people do more of what they want because of what has been shared between two people, like between you and me. And it won't be, I think this belief would really work for you. It's actually the conversation that we have. And there's a lot of benefit coming from working to one because we tend to evade ourselves. We tend to slip away. We're like slippery fish and we try to hold ourselves, but at the same time, we know how to escape. And it takes a lot of courage, a lot of work, a lot of presence to be able to do this work by ourselves. And here's my chance for me to invite you, if you would like, to have that as an experience in your life, to be able to see certain limiting beliefs that have been playing out in your life, to be able to see what could be some beneficial beliefs that you could build and have in your life that they can propel you forward for what is right for you. I really enjoy sharing these messages with you, and I also really enjoy working with people. So I want to kind of bridge the gap and bring the two together. So what I have as an offer to you who's listening right now is whether you would like to have this experience of being coached around your beliefs, then what I recommend is to have a 20-minute conversation between the two of us. I have a handful of available sessions, and I find that they've been really powerful and really useful for people to understand what's been running behind the scenes. These sessions, they come without any commitment, without any attachments. It doesn't mean because we speak for 20 minutes, you have to sign up here and pay this and pay that. I want to leave this open to you. If you feel and I feel that we're a good fit, we can definitely talk about this. But I'm all about slowing things down. I'm all about taking a step at a time. What I want you to take away from this is these sessions, I offer them here and there on my podcast and through my Instagram. But it's about giving value. It's about giving to the community. It's about giving to all of you who have been supporting my work, and you get that support from me by listening to what I have to say. So it's opening the door and just allowing you to come into my world and seeing what ways I can serve you in your path and where you're heading. And from that, it's just allowing possibility, allowing things to emerge for what they are, without any pre-made agendas and preconceived ideas about what it will look like in the future. It's all about the now. So if this resonates with you, if you feel spending 20 minutes, half an hour with me, and actually dwelling deeper into your beliefs, and you really want to understand the kinds of beliefs that be running in the background, send me an email on podcast@insidetreasures.com, contact me on Instagram @insidetreasures, or go to my website and simply just click the book a call button, which is at the top right of the website, or you can also find the link that we'll have in the show descriptions. Remember that I'm here to help you heal, change, and grow. If there's something that resonated with you, something that you need support with, give me a shout at podcast@insidetreasures.com or reach out to me on Instagram @insidetreasures. If you found any of these messages useful and insightful, and you think other people would benefit from this the same way that you benefited from this, or they could benefit even more than you benefited from this, just share it with your friends, share it with the loved ones that you have. Allow these messages and wisdom to spread to those around you, because you never know how that will impact them. You truly don't. Thank you for tuning in to another episode from Inside Treasures. My name is Phoebus, and until next time, my friend, let peace guide your life, let love guide your heart, and reason guide your thoughts.